Welcome to Africa Trade Brief, a segment that looks at trade on our continent. On the 1st of January 2021, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement came into effect. What did it mean and what did it hope to achieve? So the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement was set up to cover a market of 1.2 billion people and GDP of over $2 trillion across all 55 member states. It's going to be the largest free trade area since the formation of the World Trade Organization. And we know that the population of the African continent is projected to reach over 2.5 billion people by 2050. With average tariffs of 6.1%, businesses currently face higher tariffs when they export within the continent than when they export outside of it. The agreement is trying to eliminate tariffs on intra-Africa trade, making it easier for African businesses to trade with each other. It's got the potential to boost intra-Africa trade by over 50% by eliminating import duties and doubling trade if non-tariff barriers are also reduced. So earlier I spoke to the Secretary General of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene, to find out the status of the agreement 2 months in.
Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. 2 months in, can you tell us the status of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement? Where are we?
Well, 2 months in, a number of countries have started trading under the preferences of the new agreement. A number of countries have established the requisite customs infrastructure for commercially meaningful trade to happen across the African continent. But we know that this is a huge and ambitious exercise. So it's going to take time before all countries are ready, but we have to move forward with those countries that have indicated the state of readiness at this moment, whilst we provide the requisite technical support to countries who are not ready, but who have ratified the agreement, who have said legally we want to be bound by the rules of the agreement, but we need help to establish the requisite technical infrastructure from a customs point of view.
Do we have an indication of how many countries those are, how many countries have definitely signed up and how many still need to?
We have 36 countries who have deposited their instruments of ratification. That means these are countries whose parliaments have approved that they be bound by the obligations of the agreement. In other words, these countries' parliaments have said, we commit legally to opening our markets, to reducing barriers to trade, to reducing barriers to investment. 36 countries who have signed the agreement but not yet ratified. We're at 54 signatures. Only one country has not signed the agreement. This is the fastest instrument to be ratified under the African Union. And to me, it signals that our heads of states are committed and that governments across the length and breadth of the continent, governments are committed to the AfCFTA and to an integrated market on the African continent. It's a very encouraging high number of countries, 36, who have deposited their instruments of ratification, who are state parties.
What challenges have you faced? We know COVID is the one that everybody talks about, but what other challenges have you faced in the last 2 months?
In the last 2 months, it has been extremely difficult to get data that will give us an assessment of the flows of trade, so that we know with precision the percentage of trade that is going ahead under the new rules. It will take some time for us, probably another 6 to 9 months, for us to have accurate data that can indicate with certainty that before the rules of the AfCFTA were agreed to, trade was at this level. Now that the agreement has entered into force, trade is at a higher percentage or lower percentage. That assessment is a big challenge. Some countries don't have the requisite customs infrastructure to be able to provide us with that data. So it's very, very difficult. But I think that in about 6 to 9 months, we should be in a position to release the data to the general public to make an independent assessment of the extent to which trade on the African continent has improved or not under the AfCFTA rules.
Mm-hmm. What's next?
Well, what's next is to push ahead. We have to push ahead with getting ready, as I was saying earlier, those countries who are not yet ready from a customs point of view, to support them to establish those customs procedures. We also have a big challenge, and that is to conclude the trade and services negotiations. The heads of states have given us a very short window to negotiate rules for liberalization of trade and services on the African continent. That will take an enormous amount of time and resources. But if we want to boost intra-Africa trade, we have to do both. We have to liberalize trade in goods, and we have to liberalize trade in services. So these are the twin challenges for the next few months. We also have another ambition, and that is by the end of the year to have a protocol on women in trade. A protocol, as you recall, President Ramaphosa in December directed, when he was the chairperson of the Assembly of Heads of States of the African Union, directed that we negotiate this protocol to give specific legal affirmation to the role of women in trade. And that is another next item on our agenda of priorities.
Thanks so much for your time this afternoon.